Going on, people, the soldiers, the warriors, kings and queens, warrior kings and queens. I want to touch bases with y'all. First, I want to welcome y'all back to another episode of Black Ops Band Dog, Black Ops Band Dog TV. Welcome y'all back, man. Thanks for sticking with me. Today, order of business, I want to speak to y'all in reference to the very name and the topic itself is building leaders and creating kings, or building leaders and creating queens, because today I'm talking to my queens as well. But the bigger thing is leadership. We're going to speak on leadership. Leadership and their role to inspire us, their role to motivate us, to lead us, and understanding the difference between motivation and inspiration. Understanding what true leadership is, the qualities of a leader. A true leader understands that he's not always the person in charge. The leader is the individual that has the most knowledge based on whatever circumstances we are involved in. The individual that has the most knowledge, experience, based on whatever the situation is we're dealing with that we have to get through, that we have to get past. That is the leader at the time. So that means we all can be leaders within our right. We all ought to be leaders within our right. You know, we should all be leaders. We should all have something that we can bring to the table in which it's our time or opportunity to lead the pack, to inspire the pack, to motivate the pack. And the thing that I want y'all to understand is it's a huge difference. Oftentimes we run them together, motivation and inspiration, as if they're the same. Now, the point that I'm making with that is absolutely they are not the same. Motivation and inspiration are totally different, and they're not mutually exclusive. The two can occur at the same time. They can coincide at the same time. Oftentimes they do. That's why we get it misconstrued and think that they are one and the same, but they're not. Inspiration is the desire to finish, whereas motivation is your reason to finish. I just said something. Let me say it to y'all one more time. Inspiration is the desire to finish, whereas motivation is your reason to finish. I want more money. I go out here and bust my tail every day to get more money. The money is the inspiration. But I have a family to take care of. I have a family with needs. A family that needs me to be the best version of myself daily. And that's my motivation. That's my reason. You understand what I'm saying? Do you get that different? Inspiration propels you, whereas motivation compels you. That's the difference. We gotta focus on being the best version of ourselves at all times, because if we choose to shy away from that greatness, that bigger role, we're not only the individuals that's going to suffer, the individuals that truly rely on us are going to suffer, meaning our wives, our husbands, our kids, our family members, friends, our communities ultimately suffers when we feel as if we don't have to do or put our best foot forward on a regular basis. That's the problem. Too many of us is too selfish. We too focused on us. We look at what we got to do and look at what we are and who we are and only focus on that. Everybody feels as if we don't have nothing to do with everybody else. It's not my responsibility to take care of everybody else. And I get you. What man or woman truly want the weight of the world on their shoulders, the weight of their community on their shoulders? What man or woman truly wants to step up and be a leader and take that role? Where people truly rely on you. Who wants that burden? It's a heavy load to carry. But you develop broad shoulders so you can carry it. For my fellas, for my soldiers, for my men, the kings. You develop broad shoulders so you can carry that weight. Women, I wouldn't suggest that you develop broad shoulders, but your hips might spread a little bit carrying that load. There's nothing wrong with it. But we need each other. We bounce off of one another. We inspire and motivate one another. Without that union. Without that union and that fellowship and that camaraderie within our communities, we're lost. We'll continue to go down the same continuous path of just disaster. Disaster. You have to be motivated and inspired, and the individuals that do that are those leaders that dare to do so. Those strong men and women, those individuals that challenge themselves daily to be greater for not just themselves, but for individuals around them. But even our leaders, we got to hold them accountable, and even our leaders need to know when to step down or step aside and push somebody else forward. That's a real leader. Because if you feel like you're always the one to control and you know everything, I know you ain't a leader. You just a bull-headed alpha male or alpha female that thinks she know everything, and you might be successful and have some success for a stretch or a period, but sometimes at one point or another, you're going to have something that you run up against and boom, you cannot move it. It's unmovable. And then what? You got that one in the back that you kept in the back the whole time that really know how to get around it. See, he done some things in his life. He done some things or been through some things in his life that he know how to get around that obstacle. To him, it's no longer an obstacle. To him, it's something that he's seen before. But to you, this your first time dealing with it. This your first time experiencing it. But you too bullheaded to let him step up because you're the leader. So y'all waste time at that same point trying to get past, instead of allowing somebody that knows what they're doing and knows how to get y'all to the next point. But you got to be motivated. You got to be motivated outside of your own personal gains. Inspiration is more of a person reaching a point and wanting to act, whereas motivation is more giving people the reason to act. The reason to act. Like, you have to have reason or give yourself reason. If you don't have reason, if you don't have purpose, then what do you have in life? 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 I said, inspiration is more of a person reaching a point of wanting to act, whereas motivation is more giving people reasons to act. That's the difference between babysitting and empowerment, incentives and influence, fire starters and fire extinguishers. There's a need for both inspiration and motivation. There's a need for both inspiration and motivation. But there is a difference between the two. Inspiration is a driving force. What drives you? What drives you? What do you get up every morning and do it for? What do you go out here and go to work hours after hours, and what do you do it for? What do you get up out here and you go to your business and you go in your office and you set up and you get everything together, you calculate all the bills that you may have, and you take inventory on what you have in stock and what you may need to buy and what you may need to purchase. You take inventory, or you do budgeting, you figure out what's sold at one point last month as opposed to what's not selling at all. And you compare what sold last year as opposed to what you're projected to sell this year. You start to put those things together and you come up with a plan. But what drives you to do that on a daily basis? That's the question. What drives you to do that? What drives you to do that? Motivation is a pulling force, though. See, inspiration is the driving force, but motivation is that pulling force. That pulling force, something that pulls you up. The two coincide. The two can coincide. The two can be parallel, though not virtually identical. That driving forward or that pulling, which seems to be polar opposites, can also coincide at the same time. What pulls you? What pulls you? What is it in your life that truly pulls you towards it? That's motivation. Who truly pulls you towards them? What individuals do you have in your life? What people do you have in your life? What people do you surround yourself with that constantly pulls you up out of the depths of despair? That constantly pulls you up when you're down? That constantly pulls you out of tough situations? That constantly pulls you out? That's your motivation. That's your motivation to carry on. That's your motivation to do better. That's your motivation to do better. Your kids and family, they drive you. But they should also pull you. You have to make a decision to be a leader. You don't have to always be the leader, but you should definitely strive to be a leader. But you should also know what a leader is and what a leader's role. A leader takes people where they want to go. A great leader takes people where they don't want to go, or where they ought to be. I just said something. I don't think they heard me, huh? What I said? Huh? I said a leader takes people where they want to go, but a great leader takes people where they ought to be. I'm sorry, but a great leader takes people where they don't want to go, or where they ought to be. That's that pulling force. That's that pulling force. That's a great leader. That's that great leader. That's motivation. Individual that might take you where you don't want to go, but where you ought to be. That's pulling you. That pulls you. That motivates you. That's a great leader. A leader takes people where they want to go. That's that driving force. You want to go there. You want to do that. You want to do that. You desire to do that. That's inspiration. But a great leader, he takes people where they don't want to go, but where they ought to be. That motivator, that pulling force. That's the difference. I just said something. I hope y'all listen to me. I mean it when I say it, and I'm saying it because I mean it. I ain't gonna say it because I'm not just to be slick, sound half a slick. I'm saying it because I want y'all to really grasp that, understand that. And the last thing I want to leave you with regard to leadership is great leaders don't set out to be leaders. They set out to make a difference. It's never about the role. It's always about the goal. You hear me? You heard me? I say, great leaders don't set out to be leaders. They set out to make a difference. It's never about the role. It's always about the goal. It's never about the role. It's always about the goal. What's your goal? Thank y'all for checking in with me. If you like the content I put out, I want you truly like it, hit that thumbs up, like, and